Hey everyone, how's it going? First of all, Happy New Year, Happy 2022. I hope everyone had a good New Year's celebration. If you're into that thing, for me New Year's is really just another day, but it's always good to be on holiday, so I hope you're still enjoying your break. As for me, I'm in the final throes, the remnants of my holidays. I'm about to go back to work, so I decided to do something fun just in the last couple of days, which is participating in a VC thread. So what better way to start the new year on a VC channel than responding to a thread that someone's created for 2022. So the one I'm referring to is the Metal Tag 2022, which was created by which was created by Scott over at the Rock Scout. And if you're familiar with that, he actually made one last year. I'm not sure if that was the first one, but basically it was a series of questions about metal albums, like show an album or talk about an album in relation to a particular question. So I participated in his thread last year, and that was a lot of fun to do. So he's made another one for this year, so I decided why not jump on board again. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll get straight into that. So first, question one, a favorite reissue of 2021. So I've mentioned this before, but I'm not really a big purchaser of music, believe it or not, in comparison to some people. Like, there's some people on YouTube who get 10 or 20 albums a week. I'm definitely not like that, just because I don't have the time or the money, to buy all this. And no, it's cool if some people like doing that, but for me, I just feel like if I buy so many albums, I'll be inundated and I won't have the time to listen to or appreciate them, but each to their own, so I'm pretty selective. But I didn't buy a lot of reissues last year, but here is one I bought. This is Cancer with To The Gory End. So obviously I have spoken about this band on my channel before, and they should need no introduction. Legendary UK death thrash metal band, sort of emerging. This album came out in 1990, and it was when the early days of death metal, where it took a lot of influence from thrash, and this album has a lot of raw, raspy vocals. Everyone's probably heard it, but just like a classic album in the genre, so one I just thought definitely pick it up when it came out. So I've also spoken about the music in two previous videos, so I don't think I need to do that. This one comes on a really nice marbled red vinyl, as you can see here. So that's what's cool about the reissues. It's a variation on the original, and I'm someone who likes colored vinyl. It also comes with this insert with all of the lyrics. And what I like about reissues is that there's usually some liner notes, so sort of talking about the history and the significance of the album, and I learned a lot of interesting facts about it, so that was cool. Yeah, so I didn't buy a lot of reissues, but this was one I did, so Cancer with To The Gory End, reissued in 2021. All right. Okay, so moving on to question two, a band that you discovered old or new in 2021. So one band I discovered at the very tail end of 2021, I had always heard of this band but never listened to them, was Dark Angel. So this is Dark Angel with Darkness Descends. If you're not familiar, you probably are. Dark Angel is a thrash metal band from the USA, sort of emerging in the mid-80s, I think, and the way I discovered this band, my brother actually gave me the album on Christmas Day. He said, I've got a spare copy of this, do you want it? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. And you may know about me, thrash isn't my number one style of music, even though I do like it and appreciate it, but I'm just not familiar with all of the bands. So anyway, I gave this a go. I actually really like it. It's very sort of raw and dark death metal with raspy vocals, and I can see how this kind of thrash band was a stepping stone from thrash to death metal, as it became more and more extreme. But yeah, since listening to this album initially, I've heard it so many times, and I usually listen to it 2 or 3 times in a row. So really like it, and just an old gem which I discovered suddenly, so that's cool. And if anyone can recommend any other bands in this vein, I'd really appreciate it, because I like this stuff. Like, I'm a bit selective with thrash metal, but this kind of style where it's sort of like dark thrash with raspy vocals, I really like it. So Dark Angel with Darkness Descends. All right, so question 3, show an album with an outstanding vocal performance. So the one I chose for this is a classic album. This is Manowar with Kings of Metal. So everyone should be familiar with Manowar, sort of a classic heavy metal band which had a unique style, still do really. This was the one which came out in 1988, still with the original lineup. Well, I bought this album quite a few years ago now, and I had given it a rest for a long time, but the other day when I was on holiday, I was listening to it on the way up to the waterfalls on the bus journey, and I thought, yeah, I'll give this a go again, and really enjoyed every single track pretty much. Yeah, so the vocals are done by Eric Adams. He's got this soaring, powerful voice. So he did a brilliant performance on like Wheels of Fire, especially with those high notes that he hits. Also, Heart of Steel, like that's epic, and also The Crown and the Ring, the way he enunciates the words, it's just brilliant. Like you see how much effort he puts into those vocals. Also, like Hail and Kill, Blood of the King, so many great tracks on this. And the vocals for Man of War are a real highlight, but there's so many other elements which are as well. So great, amazing vocal performance from Eric Adams. Now, I like pretty much every track. I know a lot of people said this album divides a lot of people. Some people say it's a shit album, other people say it's great. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think it's really good. There's only one track that I really dislike, and that is Pleasure Slave, not because of the music, but because of the lyrics. It's just very sort of degrading to women and misogynistic, and I think it's unnecessary, so yeah. But apart from that, like sonically, the album is great. Some of these songs are a bit, I sometimes think this album has too many slow songs and it can be a bit depressing, but if you're in the right frame of mind, it's very good. So yeah, album for a great vocal performance, Man of War with Kings of Metal. Okay, question 4, show a gap filler in your collection. So an album where you may have all of the albums by a particular band, or most of them, but there's one that you don't like all that much, but you've just got it anyway to complete the collection. And for me, that album is 6 Feet Under with 13. So I mentioned in a recent VC thread, I am a big fan of this band. This band gets criticized by a lot of people and I don't understand why, but you know, each to their own. I feel, like I said in that video though, I love most of their albums and I stand by that, but there are just some where I think they're a bit hit and miss, and yeah, this particular album just doesn't do it for me. This is the one that came out after True Carnage, which I loved at the time, had some of Chris Barnes' most extreme vocals and everything, but with this one, just didn't really do it for me. It's not a terrible album, but I just don't find it all that interesting. Like, I've only heard it a handful of times, and sometimes I come back to it and give it another go. I can't put my finger on what's wrong with it. It's like, it just doesn't really do it for me. So I rarely listen to this one, but because they're one of the bands where I own nearly all of the albums, except for Crypt of the Devil, I'm not going to sell this one. I'll just keep it and, you know, maybe give it another chance. Like, there are some kind of good moments on it, but overall it's a gap filler for me. So 6 Feet Under 13. All right. Number 5, show a cheap pickup from 2021. So this is one I've also shown in a recent video, but it was a very cheap one. I saw it randomly in a second-hand shop, super cheap, and that's Asphyx with The Rack. So Asphyx is old school Dutch death metal, kind of very thrashy with raw vocals, but like just fantastic stuff. So most people know this album already. I was just late to discover it, but when I saw it in the shop for like a really cheap price, I thought I'll just grab it. And as I said before, I really like it because it's in the vein of early Obituary and early Morgoth, especially with the vocals. So yeah, a cheap pickup from 2021, Asphyx with The Rack. All right. Okay. Now number 6. Are we up to number 6? Yeah, show your favorite artwork on a new release. So this is one, here we go, War Moon Lord with Battle Spells. So you can see that that's an epic artwork. That's why I love it. It's kind of, to me, it's kind of inspired by Lord of the Rings and sort of medieval fantasy, but not in a cheesy way. So War Moon Lord is a black metal band from Finland, one-man black metal project, I believe, sort of bombastic, symphonic black metal in the vein of Emperor Vargrav, stuff like that. So yeah, my Brazilian friend Chris Lee introduced me to this band, and to be honest, it was the artwork which sparked my interest. I said, I've got to check this out, and yeah, I certainly wasn't disappointed, because musically it's very much in the vein of stuff that I like. So yeah, a favorite artwork from a new release, War Moon Lord with Battle Spells. Okay, number 7, a favorite track from 2021. Okay, so if we're talking about new tracks, I decided to limit it to songs which came out in 2021. That's quite hard because, you know what, I'm not the most up-to-date guy with music, but let's just talk about one which did come out in 2021. For me, it was actually Iron Maiden, Death of the Celts. So that's from the new album Senjutsu, and that's created a lot of discussion. You know, people are very divided on that album. I kept changing my mind about it, but I actually really like it, especially the production. I think it's really good. I know a lot of people have criticized it, but that song, Death of the Celts, even though there were other singles which came out from that album, Death of the Celts was one that really stuck with me, like the vocal performance and the Celtic atmosphere. I know some of my friends criticized it. They said the vocals follow the music so much, but so what? It's a very catchy song. So for me, a favorite track from 2021, Iron Maiden, Death of the Celts. Okay, number 8, a song that became an earworm for you in 2021. So what does earworm mean? It's a song which sticks in your head and you can't get it out. So I hope it doesn't have to be a song from 2021, but this was an album which I bought in 2021. So MSG Michael Schenker Group, and the album is Assault Attack. So I've already spoken about this in a collection update, but the song which was a major earworm for me was Samurai, just so catchy, with Graham Bonnet's vocals in the chorus and also the guitar melodies and solos, brilliant stuff. I would also say Dancer was the other earworm from this album. So 2 major earworms for me, even though this is an older album, but Michael Schenker Group with Samurai and Dancer. Okay, the next question, which is number 9, 2 albums destined to be culled from your collection. That's easy. These are albums which I'm giving away. I recently did a VC thread talking about 5 to 10 innovative albums which you need to hear, and as part of the prizes in the giveaway, I included 3 CDs and 1 record. So they are Necromantia with album 4 Malice, also Al-Waha Din, which is the third, with the third power of Alfta, and Traces of Death, the death metal compilation. So I'll be giving these 3 away, as well as Denial of God, the Shapeless Mass on vinyl, to Mr. Boulder, James, who won that competition. So congratulations once again, James, and sorry, I've just come back from holiday, so I will send these soon. But these are albums which are definitely going, just albums I don't listen to much anymore, but a couple of them are still really great. Okay. Now, number 10, a band that you've gone off. I thought about this one. That's really hard. I haven't honestly really gone off any bands, but if I had to really think about it, it can include bands you're just giving a break. So for me, maybe Rat, in the sense that I still love Rat's music, but I think I've just overkilled them over the years, especially a few years ago. So like now when I hear it, it's a bit too familiar, so I'm just giving them a break. Also Scorpions, maybe. Like now I'll just qualify that statement. Scorpions are one of my favorite bands of all times, and I really do love their older albums, especially the 80s ones. But I just find that a couple of the newer albums, like Return to Forever, they're just very polished and poppy, and it's not really my style. And that's no criticism of them, because they're still making music and they are still a good band. But I just feel like with the newer stuff of the Scorpions, I don't really get into it as much, but they will still always be one of my favorite bands, you know, just classic. So bands that you've gone off temporarily perhaps, or just don't listen too much at the moment, yeah, Rat and Scorpions. Okay, number 11, a 90s album recommendation. So I won't talk about albums which I've already discussed in a lot of detail, but for me, just very quickly, death metal album from 1991, Gorguts with Considered Dead. Classic, dark, disturbing, heavy Canadian death metal. It's in my top 5 death metal albums of all time. If you haven't heard this, you need to if you're a fan of death metal. This came out in 1991, so yeah, recommendation from the 90s, Gorguts with Considered Dead. I've also included another one because this is a bit different. Ulva with Kveldsanger. So if you're not familiar, Ulva are a melodic were a melodic folky black metal band from Norway. Now they've become an electronic band, but this was their second album when they just went purely into acoustic music and folk music and choral arrangements. So it's definitely not a metal album, but if you sort of like Viking metal and folk music and something atmospheric and medieval, definitely check this out. This came out in the late, I think 98. I'll have to check that, but yeah, it definitely came out in the 90s. So another 90s recommendation, Ulva with Kveldsanger. Okay. Now, number 12. And name a single of 2021 that sold an album to you. Okay, so again, I haven't got a lot of new releases from 2021, but for me, an album which I slowly got into was Iron Maiden's Senjutsu. I still haven't bought it yet because I can't find a place which is selling it without fucking rip-off prices, but I will do. But there's 2 singles from that which I really liked were Lost in a Lost World, especially like when it's got that gallop, that strut when the bass kicks in, it's awesome. Also Stratego or Stratego, I'm not sure. A lot of people said that song would sound better if it was sped up, but I still really like it anyway. So those two singles from the Iron Maiden album, Senjutsu, which are Lost in a Lost World or Stratego. Okay, number 13. Yeah, and they got me into Iron Maiden Senjutsu, and I generally appreciate that album. Okay, so number 13. Name an epic song of 8 minutes or more. So for me, Graveland, Memory and Destiny, the actual title track, Memory and Destiny. It's one of the most epic songs in my collection. I just love it. If you're not familiar, Graveland is a one-man, primarily Polish black metal band, but it incorporates elements of like Viking metal and folk music. It's very epic. There's a lot of keyboards used, but that song just soars for the heights, and it goes for 10 minutes and 19 seconds. It is an absolutely epic, mammoth song, super atmospheric. It is brilliant. So yeah, an epic song of 8 minutes or more, Graveland with Memory and Destiny, clocking in at 10 minutes. Okay, number 14, a quick opinion on Record Store Day. Now, to be honest, when I heard that question, I thought, what is Record Store Day? I'm not familiar with it, but then I read up on it. So it's sort of like the musical equivalent of Comic Store Day, you know, where independent record stores have special events selling albums, and sometimes they reissue special presses for that day. So it's sort of bringing the vinyl community together. So I haven't actually participated in this before, but my opinion on it, I think it's good, I guess, because it promotes the love of vinyl, and it brings fans and producers of vinyl together. So sort of everyone wins really, and like people who buy vinyl are usually collectors, so they can get some special presses from the day. So I think anything which promotes the sharing and the sale of music, especially like vinyl, that's a good thing. So my opinion is that it's good. All right, number 15. What part of your music setup would you like to change? My vinyl turntable, the needle, I've got a malfunction in it now where, you know, normally when you get to the end of the side, the needle will lift automatically and move over. Mine doesn't, because some mechanism in it died, which means that I have to be very careful when I'm listening to the record, because if I don't lift off the needle at exactly when the side finishes, it will just scrape across the record. So have to be very careful with that. Just over here, it's so difficult and complicated to replace, and it could be expensive, but I will get around to it. So for me, yeah, the needle on my turntable. That's the one thing I would change in the musical setup. Okay, number 16, biggest musical disappointment of 2021. So Scott said it doesn't have to be about the quality of an album, it could just be an event. Now, number 17, name an album that you're expecting and looking forward to in 2022. For me, that's easy. That will be the new Dark Funeral album, which just got its title released the other day. It's called We Are the Apocalypse, and I just can't wait to hear that, because as I've said, Dark Funeral are one of my favorite black metal bands of all time. Their most recent album, Where Shadows Forever Reign, that suddenly jumped into number 1 of my rankings because the production is great, the songwriting's epic, so I can't wait to hear what they did on this new album, and I'm sure it's going to be good. So, an album that I'm expecting and looking forward to, Dark Funeral with We Are the Apocalypse. Okay, number 18, who would you like to see release a solo album? This one was an interesting one and a bit challenging. Yeah, it's amazing. Like recently I noticed that Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse released a solo album, and I thought that's really cool, because you don't normally expect it in death metal, especially for a vocalist to release a solo album. But I've heard a couple of those tracks, and I thought they were really good. As for someone else, like someone who hasn't released a solo album, I thought for me, maybe Lord Ahriman from Dark Funeral, because he's the primary songwriter, and I think with Dark Funeral they have a particular sound, so I'm curious what his music would be like if he was doing it for himself. One of the former Dark Funeral guitarist, Black Moon, after he left the band, he released some solo music, and it was very different, very interesting and dark. So I think Lord Ahriman, I would be interested to see him release a solo album, because he often branches out from the band and does his own thing with business enterprises and so on. So I thought, why not musically? That would be cool. Okay, number 19. Show a placeholder album that you would like to rebuy in better condition. Okay, for me that's Kiss with their debut solo album. You can see here, this is one that I bought second hand over here, and it's pretty old and beaten up, splitting at the bottom there, and it was a damn cheeky price that they asked for this. But anyway, Kiss are one of my favorite rock band of all time, so I had to have it. Like musically it sounds good, but you see, look, this is falling out of the cover. It's a flimsy piece of crap, basically. So I would really like to buy the brand new version of this. And not to give anything away, because I'm yet to rank Kiss albums, but this is one of my favorites. So this is definitely a placeholder. Oh, see it falling apart, that I would like to rebuy in better condition. Okay, and last question, question 20. Because of cost or lack of availability, what album have you yet to pick up? Marduk with Dark Endless. Now, obviously, I own the CD version because I'm holding it here in my hand, but I even mentioned this in last year's Metal Tag, talking about Holy Grails. This is a kind of rare one to find on vinyl. A year later, I still haven't got it, so yes, I would definitely love to pick this up. Only with the original artwork. I know they did a reissue with crap artwork. I'm not interested in that. I would like the OG. But yeah, here I am a year later, still haven't done that, but this is one, it's on my priority list. So one that I would like to get on vinyl with the original artwork. If you happen to know of any good connections for that, please let me know. Yeah, Marduk with Dark Endless on vinyl. Okay, so that's it, guys. I hope I didn't bore you for too long. 20 minutes and 20 questions, and it's been just over 20 minutes, so I think that's not too bad. But once again, thanks a lot for watching, and thanks to everyone who watches the channel, comments and subscribes. I really appreciate it, and I hope you continue watching this year. Thanks very much, Scott, for doing this. Once again, I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope people enjoy the video. So that's about it. In the meantime, I will be back with another video soon, but I'm not sure when, but definitely continuing the channel. So I look forward to seeing you again. Okay, so in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your holidays. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. See you.